Good afternoon. Today we will discuss about a topic which very few people in India actually talk extensively about. I'm talking about qualitative communication research. What is this thing called qualitative communication research? And do we really understand what it is? In today's world, research is coming to the forefront, especially in academics. We have to do research, we have to publish, and we have to work towards publications. We have to conduct some kind of, research activity. As a research scholar, I used to wonder when I used to see uh, others, running around with a lot of survey data and then sitting on the computer and doing some analysis and then coming up with something, a whole lot of statistics and numbers. And I mean, I have nothing against numbers, but then I always used to think to myself, is there something beyond numbers? Is research merely about, feeding a lot of data in the computers and doing some kind of an analysis and saying this is what is happening, that is what is happening, this is the kind of sampling I've done? Is there something more to research? And quite by accident, while doing my studies and my review, I stumbled into the world of qualitative communication research. For many people, qualitative communication research is forbidden territory. It is something which is not proper research. But then I discovered so many things about qualitative communication research. The first thing is qualitative communication research emerged as an alternative form of research as opposed to or as a complement for quantitative research. This happened somewhere in the early 19th century. And then there are certain aspects or certain questions which may not be answered by quantitative research. Quantitative research usually looks at and talks about what is happening. Qualitative communication research or qualitative research in general answers the question why. For instance, quantitative research could tell us that the number of women or girl children as compared to boys has dwindled over the past 2 decades. However, it would take the prowess, the investigative ability, and the sensitivity of a qualitative researcher to understand why this is happening. It is a qualitative researcher who would be able to gain access into the minds and thoughts of those mothers who have decided to do away with the female fetus. Yes, qualitative research has its own place in the domain of research, and it cannot be merely dismissed as something which is just fashionable. Well, let us get down into the basics of few introductory aspects of qualitative research. Like I told you, it does not really believe in numbers, which means that the size of the audience or the size of the sample is not very important in qualitative research. You can do qualitative research with a very large sample. At the same time, you can do qualitative research with a very, very small sample of respondents. Now, talking about the very basics, qualitative research looks at research methods which are different from quantitative research. Qualitative research and qualitative researchers, they rely on interview methods. Now, these interview methods may be one-on-one in-depth interviews, they may be conversations, they may be narrations, or they may be semi-structured interviews. In qualitative research, we do not need a very structured questionnaire. Most qualitative researchers follow what is known as an interview schedule. This gives them the basic questions that they need to ask. Qualitative research is usually a precursor to quantitative research, which means it is usually taken into account or it is conducted prior to a large scale quantitative research. So we have in-depth interviews, we have respondent interviews, which are important for qualitative research. These interviews may be very informal, and at times they can also be a more formal interview setup. Talking about interviews, we also have what are known as group discussions. Now, group discussions have a moderator, and group discussions are usually more structured and more formal. In group discussions, we have a particular topic and we have people dealing with that topic, or subject experts, or those who have been affected by that particular phenomenon, who express their views in group discussions. These group discussions have to be very closely monitored for this kind of interaction to become successful. Now, apart from in-depth interviews, apart from one-on-one respondent interviews, apart from group discussion, qualitative research may also deal with what are known as some kind of a semi-structured approach at contacting the audiences. One kind of sampling which is popular in qualitative research is snowball sampling. Now, snowball sampling takes place when the respondents are not easy to connect with, or when the topic that is to be discussed is something which is sensitive. Okay, like I was talking to you about female feticide in the beginning. So, if you would like to interview people who are in some way associated with this phenomenon, we may not get direct access to such respondents. For this, we need to follow what is known as the snowball sampling method. And talking about sampling, qualitative research follows non random purposive sampling. Qualitative research is not very much concerned about the representativeness or the statistical validity of the sample. Qualitative research is more keen on observing and understanding whether the problem at hand, the issue at hand, is addressed by interviewing the respondents involved. Apart from these in depth interviews or group discussions, in qualitative research, we have yet another aspect which is content analysis. Now, content analysis can also be very quantitative. However, content analysis is also an important aspect of any kind of qualitative research and qualitative analysis. So, this content, what is this content? This content can be anything. It can be the newspaper articles that we read, it can be the films that we watch, it can be the television soap operas, it can be a radio broadcast, it could be something that is written, it could be something that is spoken, it could be something that is recorded, it could be visual texts, it could be parts of films, it could be lyrics, it could be dialogues. All these form content, and all these are a part of content analysis. And qualitative content analysis is definitely a very important field for journalists and for researchers. In this context, let us break and we will talk next time about certain other aspects of qualitative analysis. Thank you.